What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raf Esparza, coming to you live from Las Vegas while my good friend Tim Freeman is at his home location. We are coming to you for the second day preview of the Craig Jones Invitational, or as Reddit calls it, the best jiu-jitsu event they've ever seen. Here with me right now, Tim Freeman. What say you to day one of action so far?
Listen, I came into this, Raf, and it's great to see you, by the way. Send me the location of where you're at. I will come help you. If Craig Jones is holding you hostage, I will come bust you out, my man. I got your back, Raf. Blink twice, do something. Give me the shaka, and then I'll be there. I came into this with excitement, anticipation, big names, big productions. Overall, so far, great matches. No resolutions. I don't know what's been established yet. However, pretty good matches. Here's what I would say. All foreplay, no finish. Unfortunately, at this point, we'll see what happens come day two. It's coming right up around the corner, but man, so far, I give it a C+.
Okay, do you understand why I have to dress like I am part of the Chippendales Rescue Rangers? So maybe you lived under a rock yesterday, but I certainly didn't, because I was out in the public. And yes, our friends over at the Craig Jones Invitational were very kind to give your boy here a seat. What they didn't tell me was that I would be on multiple times, not once, multiple times, they would be putting a camera at me, which begs the question, did they give me those seats to set me up to look like I was just a Michael Jackson eating popcorn meme? It's one thing to see yourself once and see kind of a silly photo. But when people said, hey man, it looked like you finished your popcorn, they followed me on a journey. So now I have to go deep undercover like I'm in a 70s undercover cop show to make sure that I can blend more in with the crowd, because I've seen coaches with blazers, no shirt. I've seen street X wear everywhere. I've seen people on vacation. I've seen people in sweats. I have to up my game now so that I can blend in with the crowd. Tim, what was your reaction when you saw the very first of many shots to me?
I gotta say, though, you have a knack for getting on camera. Like, this is the first time I've seen you on camera. I watch WWE events and I'm like, oh shit, there's Raf right there. However, the first one was a very disappointed producer Raf face, just with popcorn and kind of sitting there like, I don't think this is it. Now, what struck me so funny is this morning at Open Mat out at 10P Nashville, several of my students came up to me and said, hey man, I saw your partner on CJI last night, like 83 times. They showed him constantly. Did they do that on purpose? I don't know, man. Maybe
it wasn't until after the fact that I realized, was this a hit job? Did they give me that ticket so that they could put me on screen? And to their credit, they know a star when they see one. Having said that, the easier thing to do is just to hire me if you guys want me on there. But I will tell you this, they didn't think it through, because guess what? Your boy was on flowgrappling.com, and that doesn't happen all the time. I want to point this out. My wife got me very good because she texted me. It's just like, how does it feel being famous? And I was like, babe, you have to stop. Nope. And then she told me, well, have fun getting caught on the kiss cam with your popcorn. So she's saying, like, the CEOs who were at the Coldplay concert, that was me with a bucket of popcorn eating. So she's like, enjoy your whore. And I go, okay, well, this has definitely reached a new point in my relationship. I'll just say this. I mean, it's very fun, but it is concerning, Tim, when people told me that I was the most exciting part of the day. I'm very,
man,
but I feel like them saying that is supposed to be a slight at the Craig Jones Invitational. So why don't we try to air publicly and figure out what it is they need to do to turn things around? So what is wrong with the show as is right now?
Well, they have a lot of talent on these teams. These guys are really, really good. They have great coaches, and the judges are pretty good also. I think the real issue here is the round system. Rounds are for combat sports. Rounds are for the cut man to stop the bleeding, get the swelling down, get you ready so you can come back out and fight hard another round. Rounds are for grappling. Wrestling has periods, and in those period switches, there are opportunities for positional switches. So it changes the dynamic. When you just have a round in and the dude goes out and the dude comes back in and they're like, yeah, but we're secretly adding up all these rounds for later. The whole thing is off. It's hard to follow. And I think from the athlete's perspective, it's easy to draw it out. And we've seen this happen over and over and over. And when you're watching it, you're like, another draw, another draw. And then if you go look at the results, it's just like draws the whole way down with a little sub here and a little sub here and a little sub there. It's not that these guys can't get subs. It's that they know if I get a draw, at least that guy doesn't go on. So if I can't win, I'm going to make sure he can't win either. And that strategy, it leads to draws. And I think that is the biggest problem is you're sitting there watching it and you're like, this ain't it. Like, these are the most exciting grapplers in the world and they're stalling each other out.
All right, let me see if I can come in on this. I'm not against rounds. I'm not against the pit. I'm not against Craig Jones Invitational. What I think you're seeing is a day of lackluster action. And that is a problem. Sure. But let's address a few of the criticisms from some prominent people. First, Gordon going into a meltdown. Do you think he's ever going to find something positive to say about the Craig Jones Invitational? So discount that one. Granted, a GOAT in our sport, but he has an MO. He is stealing from the Trump operative, marketing with hate. And if you break that down, he is coming at it at a point to delegitimize something else to legitimize himself. That's not a way to critique it. Like, we love the fact that we can roast their post and pre-show was not great, but we want it to be good. Gordon does not want the Craig Jones Invitational to be good. So there's a difference in how you can or cannot do criticism, and he's welcome to say whatever he wants, but let's discount that outright. The second note I saw was this. This came from somebody, and see if you can guess who it comes from. The biggest thing this event showed us was that CJI/UFC BJJ format is the most exciting. The quintet rules are a lot more boring, unfortunately. IMO, the girl matches have been the best of the event because the OG rules. Let's vote to make the semis for the men tomorrow like wrestling duels / Kasai. People in their actual weight compete with each other with CJI rules, PLZ, cry, laugh emoji, prayer hands. Well, I guess you can figure out who that is. My first thought when I saw that was, for the love of Christ, Mikey, take a night off. Second, I'm so tired of everybody trying to say what we learned was. We didn't learn shit. You know what we did yesterday? We discovered that the second time you do an event, the honeymoon is over and you have high expectations. And if you do not deliver on those expectations, audiences and people who pay to see live have a valid reason to give you feedback. And what ends up happening is the people who already were built in with pre-agendas just get to say, well, this demonstrates this. No, it doesn't. It demonstrated we have a boring day of competition. But Mikey, you cannot look people in the face and tell me UFC BJJ has not had boring matches. You cannot do that. That is not a real thing. All of the formats exist to just give you the option of choice. And trying to think that we can hold a popularity vote to switch the rules from one day to another, it's literally just engagement for no reason other than saying, hey, I want to give you pizza every day if you make me class president. You can't do that, but you just want to get the people riled. Here's what I want to tell you. UFC BJJ can exist and be successful. It doesn't have to come at the expense of the CJI, which was trying out a new format. And I love Quintet. I do. But I'm also the first to tell you it netted 3 submissions-ish. ish, and 2
Yeah.
Brazilian
Yeah.
slaps. So that's really where we're going to get into it right now. Yes, draws are not funny. I would argue the stalling calls being missed are a huge problem for it. The incentives also could be upped, and other production things that I think about. But here's the difference between Gordon and Mikey and what I see Craig doing. Craig heard your criticism. He said, "Oh, you don't like it on Flow? How about we make it free till Monday?" Most organizations won't do that. You said not enough submissions. Craig said, let's do a bonus per submission. The UFC doesn't even do a bonus per exciting match. They say 3 max. If Dana's in a good mood, 4. This is telling everybody there is incentive to do it if money is the main motivator. And it's not a bad motivator. But I see that as the main difference between this show and everything else, which is Craig heard your criticism and said, from day 1 to day 2, let me give you a reasonable version rather than turning the whole tournament into something it's not.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. You literally cannot change the format of the tournament between day 1 and day 2. Like, that's some ridiculous. Put that hand down and let you're going to drink that whole bottle of tequila.
But I just want to say, like, can we just change the whole thing? Like,
yeah,
no,
it doesn't work that way, Mikey.
No. I mean, here's what I want to tell you guys. I was in the crowd. I felt the energy wasn't there. There are a few things that were missing, and we're rooting for it, but we would have to be silly not to concede some of those things were not there today or yesterday. For today, we feel there are opportunities to turn it around. But Tim, as we note all those things, is there any other Reddit note that you saw? Because you said you have been combing through Reddit, and I'm curious to know if there's any good thing to take from what Reddit was saying.
I mean, yes, which is crazy to say about Reddit BJJ. But I will say this. There's a lot of criticism of this format, specifically the team format and specifically the amount of draws. And look, they blasted out the lead commentary, said these judges are going to be the ref's going to be vigorously enforcing these stall penalties. Like, real talk, man, you guys got to get after it. And there were like 2 stalling penalties the first set of team matches. It was not enforced at all. So Reddit called that out super quick. Now, some people were like, hey, Craig's trying something, didn't work. I think, though, the fact that Craig's partnered up with Flo has rubbed some people the wrong way. And it's a little bit like, you know, the stepdad that's kind of been like not that great for the last decade. And now he's trying to like make amends. You know what I'm saying? And it feels like, you know, he gets you something, but there's some conditions on it. And it's like, I don't know if we trust this guy or not. And Reddit's like very 50-50 on it. And I think that's why the gesture of saying like, well, we're going to leave this live until Monday. Reddit's kind of like, oh, that's like getting me a bicycle and saying I can only ride it, you know, till the weekend. And then it's getting locked up until next summer. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of that like distrust, but there are a lot of people that see it in a positive way and see it as a plus for jiu-jitsu. I think it's a great thing for jiu-jitsu. It's just, what question is it answering? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay. Can I bring up something from the proposed debate that happened the other week? So
yes,
Mikey basically was asking everybody to give UFC BJJ a chance and said, no, but they're trying to do something good. So let's give them a chance and let's see how they come out of that. Why can't we do that for this? Like, why are we supposed to afford them more grace than we are for this? We should be rooting for all institutions to have some success so that people have more options and people can leverage their worth in jiu-jitsu. So trying to tell us like, no, don't give them a chance. Let's change it day 1 to day 2. You have to be able to follow your own criteria. And for us, we are in an experiment where day 1, we all agreed we wish it was better. And it does have to deliver today. And I feel like that is why you saw the submission bonuses being thrown around. Just responding to Reddit, it is impossible to please these people. I don't think you want to chase that route, because Craig promising you a free show until Monday, people are trying to make that bicycle comparison, which sounds very sad, I think, about their lives. It's more telling when someone does an analogy that you go, I think, do you need a hug, friend?
It's trauma. It's trauma, man.
Like, this is not a therapy session here, or is it? And if so, please give me the money for the therapy that we have afforded you. Here's what I can tell you. Flow grappling is in the middle of a make good. How it goes, sure, it will have a bumpy road to get through. They've definitely made a bunch of mistakes. They have burned some bridges. And for some people, it's unforgivable. Some of these people are going to raise their grandchildren to be like, a flow grappling, not in my house. So what I would just tell you is, okay, you can take Mikey's advice to give them a chance too. You could. But I know most of you on Reddit. I know how you think. Actually, I don't. If I did, I'd be able to get a lot more upvotes. But I know how I think you think, which is, it is going to be impossible to please you. But appreciate this. 5 people today are going to win $1 million. One woman is going to win $100K. We have to be happy for that. And if you think you can do better, do what Craig did and do it better. And I think it can be done better. I do. Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts on production for sure. But I think there's a whole bunch of people who are trying their best, and I am trying to see that. But if you guys see one more meme of me chewing popcorn and wondering why I'm bored, look at how you look at home and ask yourself if you look any different than I do. Like, people just know me as a generally disapproving person. So I don't know why it came as a shock. My real friend said, yeah, that looks like you. And I said, yeah, that's fair. But Tim, we have some things to go through. So why don't you take us through a recap of some of the biggest moments from yesterday from your perspective? And I'll tell you what it was like in the live crowd.
So, there were a few big moments. I really felt like Taylor Perriman really popped out amongst everybody. Walked away with a big, controversial, yet nonetheless big submission victory over Giancarlo Bodoni. And the reason why these things are hotly contested, sometimes in the moment, it's like, hey, man, just move on, is later it's going to be Taylor submitted Giancarlo. And there's not going to be any, but that was contested, or he said he didn't tap. It's just, no, he lost to that guy. So, I get that part of it. Sub-wise, man, there wasn't a lot of submission action. The thing that did jump out is that, like the Giancarlo Bodoni submission, where he said he didn't tap, and then the ref took a little pause, it did a little thing, said, oh yeah, he did tap. Wagner and Elijah Dorsey, same situation. Wagner had a Kimura. It looked like Elijah tapped, but it not definitive. And Wagner even made he's doing the Kimura thing, like when they got it back up to their feet. And then in Gio's match, who was that against? Do you remember who Gio was fighting in that match? Oh, that's right, Bilal. And that was the ankle lock. And Gio said he didn't tap. And, it's like, man, when tap controversies are the most action-packed things in the matches, like, dang. But I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about that, because in some instances, it seemed like in Taylor's instance, he got the crowd on his side, and they're like, yeah. But then in Gio's instance, it didn't seem like the crowd was on his side. So, but those were the things that woke the crowd up. That's when you felt the energy from the crowd. What did it feel like coming from your standpoint?
One, yikes, in both cases. The first thing that I saw with Taylor was that it felt like a tap at your own academy. So that's not a slight on him. It's not a slight on Giancarlo, but it felt like a tap at an academy where somebody you're familiar with, you let it go. Now, it looked pretty good, and Giancarlo is a very game professional. So you get the impression maybe he would have to fully tap to do it. Now, what you can really credit Taylor for was he didn't waste any time. They didn't go back to resetting. He just got up and played to the crowd. And at that point, he literally got people who were in the crowd going, I don't know if that's a tap, but yeah, I feel that, dude. Let's just give it to him because why not? Like, that's not the way it should go. But I think the crowd heavily influenced how that went.
I think you're right.
And there was a part of me that in the crowd with my popcorn went, you son of a bitch. You did it. Yeah, I don't know if it's a tap. Got the people going. Can't deny that. Maybe it is. And then somebody next to me, this is the worst part, Tim. I filmed a meme, like a little story update of myself saying, I don't care if it was a tap or not. I'm just here for the chaos. I didn't know. That dude in that video didn't know he was going to appear on the Jumbotron. And to be very clear, I know my cameras very well. I know when the camera's on me, but there was no preview of that on the inside cameras. So I didn't see the inside camera and just do nothing, which kind of sounds like me. I know that I would be unbothered, but if I saw a camera, I'd definitely be doing one of these. Like I know how to appear on camera, but they selectively had those monitors turned off. So it was a hit job. It was a hit job for a number of reasons. Having said that, that was the first moment that it happened. The Wagner one with Elijah, it felt like it. It looked like it. I saw it again a little bit later. It's hard to say. And nobody's going to admit, yeah, I did tap. For $1 million at stake? No, not at all. Yeah. And then getting to the Geo one. I think part of the reason it didn't is that there was initial one touch. Okay. The other touches, like if my knee's this, they touched once and then the knee stays here and then it does this hovering. So it did like a ghost tap is what I've been calling it. So everybody took the one as the main one. And Gio saying, I would have let my foot break. And he has enough competitive criteria to show, yeah, that is kind of true for him. I do believe that. But the logical leap that people have to take to say, well, what were you going to do to get out? That's where I don't think he could win. And I think that's why the public started booing. And at one point, it did become a pro wrestling crowd where they yelled out, you tapped out. And I've gone to many wrestling shows where they yell that out as a diss at people. And it always makes me laugh because I go, dude, if that was the case and jiu-jitsu people yelled out that, it would be constant. Sometimes a character tapped out once and all of a sudden they become the guy who tapped out. I'm like, bro, go to one class. You'll tap out once in 1 minute. Yeah. Let alone 400 different times. So anyway, Tim, it was awkward. You mentioned the crowd coming alive. I'll tell you the one time the crowd did come alive. And I think it's indicative of this person. They really came alive for Nicky Rod because that was a dude who is $1 million grappler. That is his moniker. He's a huge star and he came through. I thought that was somebody who was a huge star who did what they were supposed to do. And then in his second round against Pixley, who is a very dangerously sneaky opponent, he had to take the time. Like, they've had a match before. It's a dangerous opponent when you've already grappled for 6 minutes. You might not be at your best. And Nicky Rod definitely won that first match, but having to then dig deep and find the ability to go against a very good rival, it was a good strategy to take him to time. I totally thought that was a strategic performance, a good performance, and no disrespect to Nicky Rod, you are $1 million grappler, but I did see some dad cardio. Like, I could tell that was a new dad when he was up there. Like, that's definitely some dad, like, okay, bud. Okay, I'm gonna take
some real deep, the heaving breath.
So
that's the heave.
That was what it looked like at home. Was there anything else that kind of struck out to you in terms of just that home viewing experience for any other highlights, or did you have any other highlights that weren't me in the crowd popcorning, but that might have been other people?
Yeah, I know this is a guy that's loved and hated, but Wagner losing a tooth mid-match and just kind of like shaking it off like it was nothing, I felt like was a pretty funny moment, to be quite honest with you. And then, sticking with body and body attachments, Helena Krevar's hair is becoming kind of like an opponent of its own. It seemed like it almost looks like those car washing things, those old school car washes that you drive your car through and the big brushes on the side. She just would bury her head on those passes and just kind of like rubber pigtails in Fornerino's face, and made it very difficult. I think that was probably on purpose, but I also think that's the style of passing that Helena does. But I found that to be quite comical, at least just watching it is in thinking like, what if this was my first time watching it? I'd be like, this is absurd. Is this what they all do? Like, what is this?
Okay. You put something on here that I'm not even sure how you're going to answer, honestly. You said highlight performances. You said who stole the show. For me, it was Nikki Rod. But then you put who got exposed. I don't know that I have an answer for that, but in your opinion, who got exposed, Tim? Hold on.
That's a good question.
Don't you waste our time, Tim. There is a pre-show happening somewhere else where they're literally doing another interview right now in another crane show.
Yeah.
We need to be on it, Tim. We need to name names.
Listen, I think CJI got exposed. And here's what I mean by that. You got to have an answer for what you're doing. And between 1 and 2, like, what's the third going to be? Because it's starting to feel like we're just kind of going to Craig and going like, entertain us. Just do something entertaining, come up with something funny and cool and hilarious and make videos and then do a crazy one-off event, entertain us. Look, you have an opportunity to like really do something definitive once a year. You've captured the attention of the jiu-jitsu world in a way that kind of hasn't been done before. And you're kind of wasting it if it's just a spectacle every time. Like we should be answering something in jiu-jitsu. That's all I'm saying. Like that's kind of where I'm coming from on it.
I'm gonna tell you what got exposed. That pre-show. I'm gonna let you guys know this. I love everybody involved. That's fine.
I love everybody.
But a minute ago, they did ask us to send a budget. And I said, maybe they can't afford us. Then they didn't do a pre-show last year. Then I went on a rail and I said, I think you guys should do a pre-show. Maintain an audience. That's what other sports do. And they said, you're right. Just not you guys again. And I said, oh, okay, fascinating. Well, let's see what you guys have in mind. Okay, is that it? I feel very good about what we do. And more importantly, you give us more graphics and cutaways. I don't think we're out of place here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's one thing to tell us, we don't necessarily want your content. My thing is always show me better. I don't think they did. So God bless, love y'all. But our number is still available. And I don't know that you'd want to do it after all of that information. But really, I thought this one thing. You were trying to figure out, like, what are we supposed to be doing here? I will say the initial cut from the B-roll of Vegas to Alex Wendling felt like a UFC and then very quickly did not after that. I thought initially doing that cut to her was like, oh, okay, that looks pretty professional. That's a pretty good cut. Then we went to interviews, which is promoting the cause, which is okay. It just took a while to really get the soul of what it is you're doing. And for a show that is 6 hours long, if you really want to do the entertaining stuff, maybe you want to do it more as a red carpet-esque feel with that vibe up front. Because doing those interviews in between for comedic relief, It's okay. We could do that. But there was a 12 a.m. finish for that event, which means 3 a.m. East Coast time, which means for ratings, I don't know that you retain everybody that long. It did 1 million views yesterday. That's pretty good. That is a very impressive number. But now we're in a world where the UFC is using their whole machine to aggregate between multiple channels to get that. So, yeah, now you have Flow generating that 1 million views. The question is, what are we doing with that time? And I would say I would reapproach that pre-show. Just saying. Because I would love to do a post-show, but that post-show would be on at midnight 30, which isn't bad for late night. It's a thing. It's just, what are we doing? That's all. And have a plan and see it through. I think that's where the comedic elements could go. Tim, we're going to go into this. You wanted to ask for memorable mishaps, moments, and the crowd laughing. The crowd laughed at a lot of things. I can tell you that. They led their own chants. I got confused multiple times at what they were doing, but it was very entertaining to see it have a life of its own at multiple times throughout the event. Lots of star power all the way through. But mishaps and accidents, what did you see at home?
I mean, the only thing I saw was Wagner lose a tooth. Like, that was the biggest mishap, right?
To your credit,
everything else
that was a pretty big moment. And I'm glad you brought it up because there was so little that happened. I almost forgot about that moment.
Yeah. So that was a nice one.
Well, Tim,
I also liked B-Mac being in blue jeans and a flannel shirt. I thought that was a very country boy move. I'm like, I'm surprised he didn't have a piece of straw in his mouth when the camera cut to him.
Here's my one note for the commentary team. You guys sound like 3 different broadcasts. I don't see the chemistry right now. And I don't know what it is that you can do to improve upon that. All of you are professionals. It's just, it does not sound like you're together. So that's my only note. And again, we like you all individually. You guys are great guys, but I don't think I'm wrong there. I feel like I hear 3 of people who are very good at what they do, but combined, I just don't see the connection. And that is something I wish was a little more there. But why don't we do this? We need to start talking about things that people can expect for today. So what are we talking about for today? What are the things that people need to look out for? And Tim, who advanced into today's semifinals?
Yeah. So in terms of advancing, we got a couple teams who made a couple teams we knew were kind of going to be there. So we have New Wave advancing just barely though. Like, yeah, New Wave, they did win, but they barely got by Team Americas. And then we also had Atos advancing. And Atos is a really good team. They have a very strong lineup. It's not surprising that Atos beat Team Europe. And then on the other side of the bracket, the other team is, of course, the B team, which I don't think that's a surprise either, because it's starting to feel like this is going to be a showdown between New Wave and the B team, but I'm not exactly sure. And they're going to be taking on Australasia, who I believe bested the 10th Planet team. So those are the matchups. I think that New Wave versus Atos is going to be a pretty challenging matchup. Australasia is, being led by Lachlan Giles, and they have a good team, man. They're good, but it doesn't seem like everyone's looking at them like, man, these guys are great. I just don't know if they could get past the B team. And I think the story there is like, has the B team finally grown up? Like, if they beat New Wave, do they kind of establish themselves as like, hey, we're no longer the spinoff from the original TV show. Like, we're our own thing now. Like, we stand on our own. Do they do that or not? I think they're being forced to grow up,
Can I present a scenario to you?
Yes, please.
What if New Wave loses? And what if they lost to B team? And what if you're Gordon and you could have been a difference maker? Does your hardline stance cost your team? Now, there's a lot that has to happen for that to happen, but people are hoping it does. And that means you have to get past Team Atos, which admittedly, both of them were kind of like right there in terms of performances. Like, we had heavy expectations for both of those teams. And there's always a possibility that Team Matos gets by because that's an incredible team that they have too. So it's not an easy task. Having said that, B team looked like pretty good there. I think they had a strong case to make that they were the performers yesterday. And here's why. They had a definitive finish. That didn't happen throughout. Everybody else went to decisions. They were the ones that advanced via at least, albeit one big submission difference. It didn't note a little bit of a discrepancy between the two. So I do wonder that, especially because Gordon's sitting out. He's going to complain the whole time, but sometimes if you're holding on to those values, you may have to deal with the fact that we should be looking at, well, if you're not bringing the best team, how are you going to sit at home and just complain? Because that's what we were looking for. You just had a personal stance that you couldn't get around. So that's maybe, just maybe, why he's prepping you with a lot of disgust and dislike of this event. Just food for thought. But anyway, so there is that. But Tim, you mentioned that. Who do you think are the favorites to win this thing?
Man, I don't know if there's a strong favorite. I really don't, man. I think that the B team, Autos, New Wave, any of those guys can win. I wouldn't be surprised. Probably probably the B team is the favorite. To be honest with you, they have a home field advantage in a sense, right? Craig is their guy. They're deeply involved, in a lot of things that are happening in CJI. So there's probably more a sense of like, this is a house that we helped build. Nicky Rod's the $1 million champion. So going into it, the B team, kind of crazy as it sounds, they might be the favorite to win. Girls side, I'm a little surprised that Krevar and Galval are in the finals. Galval looked fantastic beating Anna Carolina, and Krevar beat Adele. And if you look at that matchup today, like Galval beat Krevar in 2025 already by points in the gi, but she has a victory over her. So this might be Galval's like big stage win here. So that'd be kind of a cool Cinderella story for her moving forward. But I don't know. I didn't see those matches in person, Raf. What was your impression of them?
They were pretty good. I felt bad. The audience was kind of dead by that point of the evening, which almost begged the question, why didn't we go with that first or scatter it throughout the evening? Really trying to platform women's sports and putting it on at like 2 a.m. I'm not sure if it's a fair shake. So it's difficult. And I thought Adele and Helena was okay. I didn't love it as a match, but I thought it was a technical back and forth, and it's tough to win those. Obviously, I think it's Galvo's to lose. I felt like just seeing that energy yesterday was very happy. Like that's how we ended the day. And if anything, what a great statement to close out the day. So I felt good about that. In terms of teams, and I'm just going to very quickly go through this, but okay. If I am making up certain things here, I really do feel like I wanted to make a case for Team Atos. I didn't see it yesterday. It could happen today. But I'm going to join you in saying I think B team looked pretty good. I think B team looked how a team that works together knows how to neutralize talent. I think Coach Nicky and supporting coach Damien, I'm not really sure what his role is. I thought they were co-coaches, but
he's the vibe coach. He's the new vibe coach.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to bring my hype cat in. It's just going to be my glam squad is going to be on my coaching crew now.
That's right.
I felt like if they win, it will truly be a testament to the most likely a team trains together, holding the flag for maybe going forward. We should really try to have a team that really trains together, because they'll definitely be able to say, you know what? Yeah, some of you guys were super teams and had rando people. And yeah, that's our weird cousin Hugo that just happened to be in town this week. But between them, they did a pretty good job of putting things together. So I was very pleased to see them do their thing. And I would love to see that team do it because a bulk of them do train together. And I think that is a missing element for a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And granted, yesterday, of course, we're making the case like they don't have to be. But wouldn't it be cool if that was the case? Because then you get people who, like when Heath was talking about Daisy Fresh. I mean, Daisy Fresh definitely fought like a team yesterday. And even though they didn't necessarily advance, you felt an admirable quality about them going out there and making a stand. So I felt very good about those things. But yeah, I think it's Galvo's to lose, and I am rooting for B team. And then let's say this, Tim, as we start to wrap this up. Let's try and end on a positive note here. We have a few things that we're going to go through as we try to figure out what could be done better. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, what needs to happen today? Specifically, we talked about, all right, there have been some problems. All right, we talked about, what is it? What are we doing here? For you, what has to happen today?
No mishaps, no fake taps, nothing, no controversy. Athletes got to bring it. The refs got to enforce the stalling penalties and really get after it. I think we're going to see that. I think they need to get that crowd energized and going right out of the gate. However they do that, they need to pull it off. And I think that will bring the day up overall and get the athletes in a point and in a place where they could really perform. Last CJI, that place was packed, man. It was packed from start to finish. There wasn't a bunch of empty seats in there when it started. It was packed. Everybody wanted to see it. And when you're an athlete and when you're competing and that arena is packed, your energy is level 9,000 warlord. Like you're ready to go. When you step out there and you're looking around and like you just see a sea of orange seats, that doesn't cut it for you. So if they could get that place hopping real early, I think that's going to definitely help. I think the $50,000 bonuses are going to help. And if somebody could come out and bang one of those out right out of the gate and set the precedent, for sure, that's going to be a big deal. So I really think it comes down to that, man. I think no axes to grind. Don't try to like be too funny. Like focus on performance today. That's the game.
Great notes. Let me give you my notes, my thoughts. All right, let me speak to you guys, the athletes for CJI. You're going to hear some people talking about this event. What they're really talking about is you. Most people don't know how to talk about production. They have a feeling about production, like, yeah, this feels long. But they're not going to be able to define to you what pace is. What they're saying is they're not seeing enough submissions. So in essence, the bulk of the criticism is at you. Craig looked a little bored yesterday. And when the guy behind it looks bored, it's not a good sign. That's why you see him giving you extra incentives. Was that always going to be the case? I don't know, but it sure as hell is a necessary and good thing that he's doing that. All of us believe in your ability. Like, we think this can be a great event, but we're not the ones out there giving submissions or getting out there and trying to compete. That's why I want to bring it to your attention. You're great performers, but this is the only showcase you may get. You have to go out there and make a stand for this, because if you want events like this to continue giving you good money, good exposure, you have to deliver. And what I mean is, even if you lose and give us a great event, you will hang in the same halls as Andrew Tackett and a Rotolo. Like, to me, there is a way of immortalizing yourself and just saying, this is our stand. Do the best jiu-jitsu that you can, but try to make it as entertaining as possible, because we know when you're going to pretend to get a body lock just to make it seem like you're going to pass, just to game the system. We know that. And in fact, Yesterday, I said out loud, why have I been teaching my students how to pass? I should just be teaching them how to game the system so that then they can blame the rule set for not being able to do their jiu-jitsu. I'm not saying you did that all times, but a couple times. The reason I'm telling you is because of this. If you want a Craig Jones Invitational 3 or another event that fills its void, it really has to be a big event. It has to feel like a big event. And that comes from you guys recognizing maybe, just maybe, approaching it as, oh, I might lose this match. Okay, that's one way to think about it. Oh, I might not win this $1 million with my 5 friends. There's that. Even worse, you might not get another one of these. I think that should be the urgency. Because right now we have a lot of events that do a lot of good things, but UFC BJJ is not paying you $200K if you win today. It's going to take a while for us to get there. So that is what I'm looking for. And just remember, every time people are talking shit about you, you are capable of doing it. You have it in you. You've done it for other events. That's how you got the call here. But just leave it all out there today. That's my note. Because the production, everything else, that stuff you can fix on the fly. You cannot manufacture some kind of great athletic competition if it's just not there. So I would love to see that happen. I know it's easier said than done, but I do feel like if that is the MO, the modus operandi, you probably will come a little bit harder today if you don't have a promised tomorrow. So good luck to you guys. And to the production, faster, please. Pace, little rough. I know we want to slow things out and slow play it to give some time for the concessions. And I think merch is holding this thing together. Honestly, I think the Street X has been part of the reason this thing actually exists. But having said that, pace. That's my note. Tim, I feel like we've done another good job here. I feel like you and I have been able to successfully describe all the things that are wrong with the CJI. We were able to point out the things that might happen and hopefully give a few words of encouragement. Do you have anything left on the table that you want to say before we end this thing?
Yeah, man. Not throwing shade on any of these guys. Some of these guys are people that I know personally. Some of them are not. Just as somebody who has been watching this professionalization happen for many years now, such as yourself, Raf, we've seen a lot of mistakes and we've seen a lot of ebbs and flows, and we want this to succeed. Like, we want this to work. We're pulling for it. We're rooting for it. It's like when you have a favorite team and they keep messing up and like you go and you watch them and you want them to win, but it's like, oh man, I know. That's the Raf eating popcorn. That's how you feel when your team's like that, right? So it's like, we want you guys to win. We're not trying to throw shade, but at the same time, like, there in some areas, there's some improvements that can definitely be made. And do you want last year to be the last time that one person won $1 million in jiu-jitsu? Because if you drop the ball now and we get the banana, it might be a while before you see $1 million put on the line for one guy. Mm-hmm. So take that into consideration, right? The UFC is not going to be there anytime soon. I don't see anybody else getting exactly that close. So, but other than that, Raf, I love you, dude. It tickled me so much to see you on camera. It's just brightened my day. I thought it was fantastic. I appreciate you being out there, man. We're trying to lock this down. You're doing a great job. And it's great to be here, man. Watch CJI 2, day 2. It's going to be a great show. I know it is. I hope they really pull it off today.
That's the thing. We hope they pull it off. We want them to pull it off. So we're rooting for you. And CJI director, I see you. I see your technical director too. Today, if you come at me, I'm prepared. I've been practicing all goddamn day. Literally, the section I'm at. Your cameraman has been on me. And you know what? That cameraman and I actually made eye contact toward the end of the night because I was doing this to him like, I see you. And then he was doing this, holding like trying to get away from this vision of ice. I locked onto him. I said, sir, you need to give me a heads up. So I've been doing a whole bunch of this today to get ready, be prepared. You're going to see me like a fucking James Bond movie, just in one of these coming I have to tell you this. I think it's important to have a good sense of humor. I think it's funny as hell. And I think this, if any of you ever get the silliness that is involved in this gig, I had a handful of people run into me and they're just like, hey, I know you. And I go, okay, probably. And then somebody's like, oh, dude, you're a celebrity. And I was like, no. Familiar. Not a celebrity. It's not like you're famous like this. What you are is you look familiar to people, or people seem like they know you. But when people are like, man, you're famous, and then they put me on the Jumbotron, I was like, well, maybe a little famous. I just told people this. I go, just take it in stride. It's funny. It gets a good meme. Laugh at yourself. And I think that's something some of these organizations can do. Anytime they can't take a joke, listen, it's all fun. So I'm having fun with it. I hope you guys do too. And to everybody who's texted me, God bless. I'm sure you might see me back on today. I'm in the same section. So I'm prepped for it. But Tim, I appreciate you, my man. We will do a big wrap up later this week. So I believe Wednesday or so, we will have a recap. And maybe, Tim, we'll see how the drive home treats me. But maybe it's the roast of CJI too.
Ooh, wow. Maybe. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot, right?
Because I'll preview what I was thinking. Yesterday when they started it off and they said they were going to go Royal Rumble, you had stone cold, lukewarm Greg Souders with a pouty face walking out, just looked like he saw two people drilling in front of him. And then they went with Danaher making a big entrance who couldn't even muster a.
Yeah.
And I said, wasted WWE entrances on antisocial peoples.
Yeah, right.
So we'll definitely have some things to say. But Tim, why don't we sign off for now? My appreciation to you, my appreciation to everybody. The actual show is going to happen. It's going to be live on Flow Grappling at least until 5 p.m. tomorrow. So if you don't watch it, make sure to watch it as soon as you can before it evaporates in the thin air and goes behind a paywall most of you are not paying. So on behalf of us here, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of our stuff. We love you guys. We will see you back later this week for an edition of our Bullpen, where we will likely roast everything that happened here at CGI 2.